What is going on, everybody? How are you doing this fine Wednesday for you, Tuesday for me? Me, not too bad. Just out of work, glad to not be there anymore, but that is a whole other story. But intriguing things ahead. Because today we are going to learn about, to me, an extremely influential person in video games and one of my favorite game designer and producers. And I think you, if you're a fan of gaming, a true fan of gaming, will love this person as well, and that is Hideo Kojima. Now, I hope I'm not butchering the name. That's how I've always heard it said. But he was actually born in August 24th of 1963. And he is a Japanese video game designer, screenwriter, director, and game producer. And I mean, he is just highly regarded for video games. And, you know, during his childhood and adolescence, he developed a strong passion for action-adventure cinema and literature. And then, you know, come 1986, he was hired by Konami. And at that point, he had designed and wrote, in 1987, Metal Gear for MSX platform. And now this is the title that laid the foundation, the starting point, the stones, the road, the whatever the hell you want to call it. It is the beginning for stealth games. And it's actually his best known and most appreciated series. And sorry for the little random noises in the background. That would be my dog. Yeah. She's a pain in the boot. But that title did consecrate him as one of the most acclaimed video game designers. And, you know, it's Metal Gear Solid. And that was released in 1998 for the PlayStation, the PS1. Now, you know, he did visual novels Snatcher, which was released in 1988, and Police Knots, which is in 1994. But, you know, then in 2005, he founded Kojima Productions, which was a software house that was part of Konami, of course, controlled by Konami. And then by 2011, he became the vice president of Konami Digital Entertainment. This guy is a beast. I mean, he is just a monster, a master, a genius. I mean, the list goes on. But in 2015, Kojima Productions split from Konami and became an independent software company. And Kojima actually announced a collaboration with Sony for a new action game, Death Stranding, which is currently in development. And from 2017 to 2018, he also edited a column for the Rolling Stones dictated to cinema, video games, and analysis of the differences and similarities between the two, which I think is a fascinating article to have, a fascinating one to read. You should definitely check it out. He's actually from Setagaya, Tokyo. And he's actually lived in Osaka as well. But I mean, another one that he did work on was the Zone of Enders series, which is, again, phenomenal. It's a fantastic game that I am a huge fan of. And what's funny is, you know, growing up, he wanted to be an artist, a filmmaker, or an illustrator. But because of all the pressure of social norms for, a salary job and all this and that in Asian countries, he was just, kind of pushed in a certain direction for a long time. But, this guy is just, I would say, legendary. He did, of course, have failed attempts breaking into the video game industry, and he had joined the video game publishers Konami's MSX home computer division in 1986. So, he wasn't a fan of his assignment at the time and wanted to work with Nintendo and arcade games, but he did what he could. He had considered leaving the company, but instead he just hung on and pushed through, and look at what he got him. Or look at what it got him. It's just insane. Like, the success that this guy has had when it came to Metal Gear Solid, and then the sequel, Metal Gear Solid, or Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake, just all that shit was fucking insane. Amazing games. Metal Gear Solid 3 Substance, Subsistence. He's done just so many different things. SD Snatcher, look at that. It was actually an RPG, and it adapted the storyline of the original Snatcher. And the characters are depicted in a super deformed art style. And he changed it up. It abandoned random encounters and introduced an innovative, first-person turn-based system where you could aim at specific parts of the body. And at that time, that kind of battle system was rarely used, though there were similar battle systems based on targeting individual body parts that were found later in Square's Vagrant Story, or Bethesda's Fallout 3, or Last Rebellion. This dude is insane. He really is. And then, in his late, well, not his late, in the early 2000s, that is, he produced a game and an anime franchise, which was Zone of Enders. And that was in 2001, which had, moderate success, but I was a huge fan of the game. I loved it. I was addicted to the game. He did Boktai, The Sun Is in Your Hand, which is a vampire hunter game. But you had to play in sunlight because there was actually a sensor on the cartridge, and you're a young vampire hunter who used a solar weapon, so you actually had to play in the sunlight. So that's another, unique thing. And then he began work on Metal Gear Solid Twin Snakes, which was a GameCube enhanced remake of the first fucking Metal Gear Solid, with all the gameplay and everything, and cutscenes and all that. It was just an enhanced project. He's been on so much shit and done so many things that it is insane. He is super talented for what he had to grow up in. It was just insane. Like I said, when he was 13, his father died. And, he had to deal with that death, which for any kid is hard. The younger you are, the harder it is, until you get to a certain point where you don't register. And, that was hard for him. And like I said, that's hard for anybody. But, overcoming that, as well as just the general wants and needs at that time in Asian countries. Like, I've lived in, it's not Japan, but I've lived in China, and there everything is school, 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 school. Like, you don't get a break. It's all school, no play. And you're just pushed and forced on this way of living your life. Instead of it being your own, it's your parents or your families, your older siblings, if they're in adulthood. And it's difficult. It really is. It's not something that is easy by any means. And, you know, I could only imagine in Japan, where a lot of things are very, very traditional, it being almost a little tougher. Well, I said now he's overcome so much. So much. And, you know, Newsweek named him as one of the top 10 people of 2002. In 2008, Next Gen placed him 7th in their list of Hot 100 developers of 2008. 7th place out of 100. And then in 2009, IGN placed him 6th in their list of top game creators of all time. At the MTV Game Awards in 2008, he was given the award show's first Lifetime Achievement Award for a game designer, and was also honored with a Lifetime Achievement Award at the 2009 Game Developer Conference. And then on top of that, I don't know why my voice just went super high, at the National Academy of Video Game Trade Reviewers, that's an award thing, Kojima was credited for Metal Gear Solid 5 Ground Zero's nomination for the category Game Franchise Adventure. And then in December 2015, he was invited to accept an award from the Game Awards for Metal Gear Solid 5 The Phantom Pain. Now, Konami prevented him from attending the award ceremony, which I think is absolutely ridiculous. One of your best fucking people, and you're going to tell him he can't go receive an award? That is bullshit. But he deserved that award. He busted his ass for all these awards. And if anyone says otherwise, I will punch him in the face. I do not care. But not you, because I love you all. And then, he's also gotten a couple more awards. In February 2016, he received the AIAS Hall of Fame Award at the 19th Annual DICE Awards. In December 2016, he was able to attend the Game Awards 2016 and accepted the Industry Icon Award. That's fucking insane. And then in 2017, he received another Lifetime Achievement Award at the Brazil Game Show. And then if you think of all these games, he's been at, like, Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake, Metal Gear Solid, which was the first PlayStation release, that was one of my favorites. Metal Gear Solid Integral. And in those two, he was actually the director, producer, screenwriter, and game designer. He did all that shit. In Metal Gear Solid 2 Substance, he did that. Subsistence, he did it. 4 Guns of the Patriots, he did it. Peace Walker, he did it. And of course, in Ground Zeroes and the Phantom Pain, same thing. Now, Metal Gear Solid 4 Guns of the Patriots is an underrated game, I believe. And I am a huge fucking fan of the game. Like, as soon as I found out that it was coming out, and I had the PS3, which is what it came out on, I was super fucking stoked. So excited. And then I played it, and I was like, holy shit.